In this section, we'll be talking about perspective drawing, and you've all seen perspective. When you look at maybe a long straight road, it looks like the two parallel edges of the road in the center line seem to meet in a point on the horizon, and that's called the vanishing point. And so when artists wanted to add that to a drawing so their drawings seem more realistic, they used a vanishing point. And artists in the 15th century sort of created this idea. So you can see with this design to make that looks like these containers are closer than the other ones, you can follow that vanishing point right down, are those lines that converge right on that vanishing point. And so you can see it in this drawing. It's kind of showing it to help us to see it. And it looks like it's a three-dimensional drawing. So why don't you try one? You could pause this for just a second and try drawing a box. So hopefully you got a chance to try that. Perspective can help if you're not really happy with your box, but it's also fine just to draw one using a straight edge. So I wanted to show you how to use one-point perspective. And you may have done this in an art class in the past. And it gives you the steps. These steps are also in your book, so you can look at those. All right, so our first step is to draw a rectangle. There's my rectangle. I kind of made it thick so I could see that a little bit easier where they match up. A little bit harder with the computer screen. I'm sure it looks nicer on your pencil, with your pencil. And then I'm going to draw my horizon line in the back. And I could put my vanishing point anywhere I'd like. So I think I'm going to move this up just a little bit. And I'll put my vanishing point, how about right here? And all I have to do is grab my straight edge and I'm going to connect each vertex with the vanishing point. So that's step 2 here. Mine are not perfect. Try to line your pencil up as well as possible. And then step 3, I'm going to take each one of, wherever I want to put this point back here, how deep I want the box to be. I'm going to use a straight edge though, and I'm going to make sure that this back line is parallel to the front. So that's not parallel there. I'm just going to move it around until it's parallel, and that's the back of my box. I will bring it down, again making sure it's parallel to the front, so not parallel now. And that looks pretty good. And then same thing with the bottom. I'm going to make that parallel with the bottom of the front. And it should, if everything works out, look like I can bring this down, so it's slightly off here, to connect here, and it should look like it's also vertical or parallel to the front. And to finish my box, I can go back and erase the lines that I needed to use, and you could do that also. Just make them light to begin with, and then you can usually erase them pretty easy. This is not part of my box, so I'm going to erase that. And I can make the things that are inside that I really wouldn't have seen. I could make those dashed also if I'd like. So get rid of all of that. So there's my three-dimensional box. So just practice with it again on pencil. With pencil it turns out a little bit better. You can also use two-point perspective, especially if that front surface of your box is not parallel with your drawing surface, and so you'll get kind of like a city street effect. So let's try that. I'm going to first draw, make this a little bit smaller, but this is all in your book. I'm going to first draw a horizontal, I'll do my horizon line. And I'm going to draw a vertical line that will be kind of like that front of the building. And I'm going to pick 2 points wherever I want them. And they call them V1 and V2, so those are your 2 vanishing points. And then same idea, I'm going to connect my endpoints to my vanishing point. Endpoint to vanishing point. Choose how I want my box or my building to look. If I want it to go back this far, I just want to make sure that this line is parallel to the front. So it's not parallel right now, so I'm just kind of eyeballing it and making sure it's parallel. Not the best. Pretty good. And I will choose another one. And then I see that I have these 2 points of intersection right here and here, and same with the bottom. And so I'm going to connect all of those using my straight edge. And then you'll see that my building is going to start to form. So I'm going to connect here and here. And I can also do the bottom if I want. If I wanted to add maybe a door to it, I could draw, let's see, a vertical, again parallel to that side, another vertical, and it'll help me actually. I think I'll use my vanishing point, connect the top of what's going to be my door to my vanishing point. And then I can draw my other parallel. I know exactly where to end that. So you should always know exactly where to do it. You're either making it parallel or you're using your vanishing point to guide you. I can add the top of my door using my line as my guide, and I've got my building. I can add or erase if I'd like the lines that helped me, and I can start to see that building a little better. So I erased a few of those lines, and there's my building. I could add more buildings to the right or the left, and I could add a window if I'd like, but all using perspective. So pause this and try that. And in class on Thursday, you're going to have a quiz. I'm going to tell you exactly what's going to be on the quiz in just a minute. But after the quiz, I'd like for you to take some time to try your perspective drawing. So here's your choices. And you may want to either jot these down because I don't want you to watch the video again while we're taking the quiz. And I won't tell you the assignment again because you've already seen that. That would be silly. So here are your 3 options. One option is to draw a building, maybe with doors and windows. You can add color, that sort of thing. And so here would be an example of the beginning of a building. So something like that would be wonderful. You could draw something like that. You could draw just, it looks like a table. You could still erase the lines for drawing. This is just a fun design with shapes. So you can see there's a horizon line right here, the vanishing point right here, and they just made some shapes. It's kind of hard to see the outlines here. I have colored pencils. You're welcome to use any of that. And you should have most of the class to work on that. Here's another neat design showing that 2-point perspective with shapes, just kind of floating out in the air. And then here's just a chair that somebody used the 2 points perspective to show the 3 dimensions. So that's one option. You could just use 2-point perspective and draw a building of some kind, or really anything at all for shape. Another idea is to take your letters. You could do your initials of your name or your first name, and like this person did, just make a nice little design with your vanishing point. On this one over here, the love, it's kind of hard to see where that vanishing point is. You could probably have it up here or even back here. But what I notice is it's not all perfect, but that's okay. That's artist privilege. It's kind of hard to tell. If you extended them, you could probably find where that vanishing point is. But they kind of used the idea and just being creative and made a fun design with shadows, so you could do something like that. And one more option is thinking about the lettering on streets. So the way that we read a street sign that's painted on the street, how it would look if you looked above it, or even just how it would look from your point of view. So if you were sitting in the car, that's what it would look like. So you could come up with anything that a street would have on it. I like the bike is reminding you that there's this bike path here, a yield sign. There's another example bus line. You could look online for other ideas. So any of those are your options. If you have something else you want to do, just talk to me about it. and we will have a competition to see who can draw the best one. And then as far as your quiz is concerned, I'm going to give you some, I'm actually going to read to you the questions on the quiz, so you should have no problem completing all of this and doing really well on that quiz. All right, number one, you should be able to construct a line segment with length 2AB if I give you line segment AB. The second one is I'm going to give you an angle, and I want you to construct an angle congruent to it. The third one is I'm going to give you two angles, and I want you to construct the sum of two angles. The fourth one, I want you to divide a segment into two congruent segments. The fifth one, I'm going to give you a hexagon, and you're basically going to construct the perpendiculars of all 6 sides, and then you're asked some questions about it just by looking. What does it appear to you? The sixth one is I'm going to give you a triangle with an altitude drawn, and you're going to, in the perimeter, and you'll just figure out some missing sides, which if you understand the concepts of that, you should be able to get that without any problem. The seventh one, you're going to construct a median in a triangle, so you need to know the definition of median. The eighth one, I'll give you a point and a line with 3 distances drawn, and you have to tell me which is the shortest. Remember, we talked about how the shortest distance from a point to a line is a perpendicular to the line. The ninth one, I have an obtuse triangle drawn, and you are to construct an altitude. The 10th one, you are to construct an angle bisector. The 11th, I'm just asking you about a question. If you construct a 60-degree angle, how would you construct a 30-degree angle? So you can just write the answer to that. You don't actually have to do it. Number 12 or 13, you can choose between one of these. 12 is I give you a segment that should be the length of the side of a rhombus that you would construct, and I give you one angle of the rhombus, and it happens to be acute. And 13 would be the other choice. You can choose 12 or 13. 13, I'll give you 2 segment lengths, and you have to construct a kite given those 2 segment lengths. So if you've been watching the videos and practicing in class and getting all of your work done, I would imagine that all of this will be pretty easy for you. You can probably get the test or the quiz done in about 15 minutes or less, and you'll have the rest of the time to work on your perspective drawing.